went in and just really got my ass kicked repeatedly. I was like, no, it's fine. I just need to get better, to get good, practice a bit more. And no, this is not happening.
And so I put it on. And then you're going down the thing and your brain's going, what's happening? I was stood on the ground a minute ago and now I'm flying through the air.
Yeah.
So it's astonishing the impact it has.
Immersing myself in the world of Jin Sakai as a super powerful, super awesome samurai on a quest to save his uncle from the Mongol invasion. Very much been enjoying that for the last month.
Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Gaming the System, the podcast where three intersectional feminists examine gaming and games through a feminist lens. Today I am your host Matt, and I'm joined by my friends Alex and Jem. Before we get started, if you want to support us, you can subscribe to our Patreon at patreon.com/gamingthesystem for some exclusive content, or you can send us a one-off donation via PayPal to our email address wearegamingthesystem@gmail.com.
Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Gaming the System. Today the three of us are back from our lovely month-long break, and we're going to take this opportunity to catch up with the games that we've all been playing over the period and what games we're looking forward to. It struck me as I was looking through the games that I'm looking forward to playing later this year that there are actually more old games that I'm looking forward to playing than there are new games due to be released. So it doesn't have to be just new releases that you're looking forward to playing.
Welcome to the dark side.
Yeah, it's scary. I want to know what you're currently playing, and then we'll look at what you have been playing. So, Alex, what are you currently playing?
So I'm currently playing an older game, Ghost of Tsushima, which I picked up in the middle of last month. And I'm very, very much enjoying. I've got to the stage where waiting for a blacksmith to craft me a tool to climb the walls of Castle Canada. So very early on still in the first act. But very much enjoying playing. The game has a particular way of making you feel very powerful right from the start, which I really enjoy. Feeling OP in a game and in combat especially, because I don't tend to do too well in combat normally. But I also really enjoy the exploration, how beautiful the island of Tsushima is, the weather, just everything about it's so cool, all of the collectibles. We could probably have an in-depth episode on it, Matt, if you fancied. I'm very much enjoying that. Today, for those of you that listened to our episode on Day of the Devs, you may remember that Sword of the Sea came out today, and I bought that a couple of hours ago and have been enjoying it in the lead up to recording the pod today. Really enjoying it so far. It's like the love child of Journey and Abzu, essentially, created by the same people and with one of my favourite video game composers, Austin Wintory, in charge of the music as well. It's quite an interesting format in that it's essentially a skateboarding or snowboarding game, but you're on a sword instead of one of those. It combines the environments of Journey and Abzu. There's also an interesting element that's not been in any of the other previous games. Little rooms where you get to set high scores with tricks and stuff. So that's very much in the skateboarding game mold, which doesn't necessarily fit with the previous games in the series. Another one that listeners and watchers might be familiar with is Pathless, which came out as a PS5 launch title, and again that was by the same developers with the same composer. I haven't actually finished that one, so I'll go back and do it after I've done this one.
The gameplay is very smooth on it.
It is, definitely.
They do a good job with a very minimalist approach to things.
Yeah, definitely. It's got the same sort of artistic style as well, in that it's almost like it's illustrated but not, and it really focuses on the gameplay being about movement and how you move through the world and explore, which is the kind of gameplay I really enjoy to help switch off. when feeling stressed, which has come in very handy lately. It's very much where you can reach a sort of Zen mode and go into one of those, which is really nice. So very much just dipping my toe into the sea, but very much enjoying it so far, for sure.
That sounds intriguing. The only one I've played of those series has been a bit of the Pathless. I think it's a type of game that I'm not normally inclined to play. Pathless is more action-based, whereas
Yes.
Journey and Abzu are much more, isn't this a beautiful world that we're moving slowly through, and some puzzles, isn't it nice, with nice music? So it's good to see that their success is continuing. Jem, what are you playing right now? I know the answer to this, but...
What I'm playing right now is Clair Obscur, Expedition 33. Matt knows all about that because we did a deep dive into our first impressions of the early game, which should be out before this episode is out. Really enjoying it, and stepped into it because I was looking for a turn-based game that had a limited world and story so that I knew I could get to the end of it. I just needed something a bit contained. And so it was suggested to me by ChatGPT, your friend of mine. Yeah, really enjoying it. It's just really beautiful. It's quite complicated gameplay, quite complicated combat, but it's fun. And because it's turn-based, it gives you time to think about what you're doing and actually plan it. There's a little bit of reaction stuff in there. I did this. You don't know this, Matt. I had managed to kill one of the boss creatures, and it was such an easy fight. I'm running the game on story mode, so I'd finished this boss fight, and I'd done really well in it. It was like the first time I'd hit this boss. One of my characters was not optimized for this boss, so I fully expected to die halfway through, but I didn't. I got to the end of it, and I thought, right, I think I'm ready to go up to the standard level expedition mode. So I went in, because you can change the difficulty at any time. I went in and just really got my ass kicked repeatedly. I was like, no, it's fine. I just need to get better. I just need to get good. And I just need to practice a bit more. And no, I was like, no, this is not happening. So I've gone back to story mode, which is a little bit frustrating because I feel like there should be a level between the two. So what happened was when I went from story mode to expedition mode, they went from hitting me for double figures to suddenly whacking me for 500, 600 points of damage. That's a massive jump, and I just really felt like I needed a middle ground between those two, because I do want the challenge. I want to enjoy the fights. I want to be challenged by a boss fight, certainly. I want to have to do a boss fight a couple of times to get my head around it and do it. But I also don't want to be dying constantly on the little monsters that you come across as you're just wandering around the game. So yeah, I just had to accept it. It was the parrying and the dodging, just absolutely impossible.
Always bits I find super hard in any game, parrying and dodging.
It's a disappointingly blunt form of difficulty changing that literally just lowers the amount of damage you do, raises the amount of damage they do, and makes the window of parrying and dodging smaller.
Yeah.
And so I started off on story mode, and then just because the parrying and dodging was too tiny, and then I got a mod that makes it twice as easy. It doubles the amount of time that the parries and dodges work, and that's been at the perfect difficulty for me in terms of that. And then I've moved the difficulties up to hard, because then you get the real, things can still kill you quickly, but you feel like you've got the tools to manage most things. The ones I find most satisfying is when I know that if I miss twice, it can bring me right down to the lowest health. So it forces you to go, I need to pay really close attention at all times, ping, 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 and then trying to hit you 8 times. I get an action point every time I do a parry, and I get health every time I parry. Those satisfying build-up of element. After like 3 turns, you can do a massive built-up attack. It's very, very fun. And
I'm going to have to talk to you about that then.
I'll send you a list of some of the mods that I use. As you've probably gathered, I've been playing Expedition 33 as well. Been having a marvellous time with it. Came completely out of nowhere, to the extent that Gem and I talked for an hour about it, and we'd only finished the first act. And I have no idea how far from the end I am now, and I've been playing it fairly solidly. And yeah, it just keeps on expanding. It gives me tremendous hope for game design in the future, considering what an average team can put together and build. Wonderful. And if you want to know more about what we think, then you can watch or listen to the episode that Gem and I have done. And once we've finished it, no doubt we will have a deep dive of some form. Also, an honourable mention to Fallout 4, the last Fallout game in the series that I've been playing. I played Fallout New Vegas for the first time. Awesome, masterpiece. Then played Fallout 3 and was really disappointed in it. I was very surprised at that, because I thought I always thought that Fallout 3 was the Skyrim of sci-fi games, but New Vegas is the template for these big sci-fi games. And I went, holy shit. And that just shows how awesome New Vegas is, and I'm so glad I finally got to play it. And now I'm towards the end of Fallout 4, just going through, enjoying all the writing and the environmental storytelling. So that's just sort of chipping on in the background. Good stuff. Now, what have you been playing recently over the last month since we last spoke? Or have you been playing the same game since we went on break?
Pretty much for me, it would be Ghost of Tsushima. I picked up in, I want to say, the sort of mid-July, so probably about a month ago. And before that, it was To a T, which we had an episode on. So go and check that out if you are curious about what that game is like. For me, I've just been immersing myself in the world of Jin Sakai as a super powerful, super awesome samurai on a quest to save his uncle from the Mongol invasion. Very much been enjoying that for the last month. Beyond that, we have acquired a Nintendo Switch. The first type, not the second type. A friend of ours was looking to get a Nintendo Switch too, and we said, if you don't need your Nintendo Switch anymore, could we have it? We have purchased it. I'm sure I'll be looking into some Switch games for the future, which might be a separate part of this episode. We have also been dabbling in a game that Tom had on his Switch Mini, which is all about a robot with a fish inside the top part of its body who looks after elderly robot veterans in an old people's robot home. And young upstarts come along and steal the energy source that helps from the home. You have to go out with a sword and go through dungeons to try and get the energy source back. And it's basically a dungeon scroller. But that's quite quirky and fun, and it's all sort of medieval themed as well. There's lots of like bardcore type music, or the medieval themed. I've forgotten what it's called, but it's quite an odd mix of things, and that's quite fun to kind of spend 5-10 minutes just doing a little bit on. Yeah.
You just reminded me of an esoteric thing that I experienced yesterday for the first time, talking of game experiences we're not used to. Have you ever tried a VR headset?
I haven't yet. No.
Next door, my sister's been house sitting for them. They're on holiday. And I got a text from her the other day saying, oh, Matt, you've got to come over and try this VR headset. They've got a Meta Quest. I've never tried VR. It's never appealed to me at all.
Oh, it's so much fun.
And then put it on, and it's utterly unbelievable what this thing is capable of. I was absolutely shocked by it. And me and my sister are thinking about splitting the cost of one of those as well, just because it's so amazing. I took some surreptitious videos of her when she had it on. It's very funny. I'll show you a few clips of that.
How was it, like, comfort-wise? Was it comfortable to wear?
You can just get used to the weight eventually.
And you didn't feel motion sick or anything?
I felt very strange because there was a roller coaster game on it. And so I put it on. And then you're going down the thing and your brain's going, what's happening? I was stood on the ground a minute ago and now I'm flying through the air.
Yeah.
So it's astonishing the impact it has. That's a really interesting thing for the future. Exciting.
So much fun. I don't think you're the only one who's thinking about that. We played Beat Saber, some friends, a sort of family thing, on the VR headset, and that was awesome. You look crazy because everyone's watching you and you've got the headset on and stuff in your hands and you're trying to do all of this, but it was so much fun. We bought one of the early ones for the PlayStation, and I tried to do Skyrim, VR Skyrim, which I thought was going to be amazing, but I got so motion sick in the first 10 minutes that I couldn't play. I couldn't do it. Different games have different effects, and apparently you can do stuff so you can slowly build up a sort of immunity to the motion sickness. I didn't feel motion sick at all with Beat Saber, but I had with this Skyrim game, and so it's something that we're also looking into, Matt. So I'll be interested to see what you decide.
Yeah, one of the most awesome things was you can watch YouTube in it. And you can pin a YouTube screen. When you watch the video, it makes you feel like you're in a cinema and it's being projected onto a massive screen. It's wild. Jem, what have you been playing recently?
Before I picked up Expedition 33, I was playing Dave the Diver, which is such a cute little game. You play Dave, who is, you guessed it, a diver. His job is to dive around in the ocean, catch fish and explore the ocean. But he's basically discovered this special underwater magic thing where it changes every day. So his friend sets up this sushi bar on the beach near it, and he's sent out every day to go fishing. And then in the evenings, it's kind of like Overcooked. And you're running around helping to serve customers and pouring drinks and delivering food. Then there's a whole management thing going on about menu management and what level you are on social media and getting enough votes. And, so it's very multi-layered. In our chat, when we were talking about Expedition 33, we were talking about how it's a sort of mashup of a lot of different types of games. And I think Dave the Diver is also one of those kind of mashups, but of a very different set of games. So that was lots of fun. And I was also playing Coral Island, which is a sort of 3D version of Stardew Valley. I mean, it's a almost 100% direct rip-off of Stardew Valley, but I don't know how they managed to be allowed to do it. So for me, it was lots of little games that I could dip into, just spend a little bit of time on and dip out of again, just because the weather's been so nice and I've been quite busy. Those were really good, but I think it's clear why I then had this hankering for something with a bit more depth and immersion and a story and intensity. I've also been playing split fiction with my daughter, and we're plodding our way through that when she can take time away from Overwatch and Roblox, all of her other important things that she's got to do. So so as usual, I'm flitting around. Somebody asked me the other day what crafts I do. And my mum, who was nearby when they asked, was like, she's like a grasshopper. She just jumps from thing to thing. And I bet it's true. And I'm the same with games.
Craft implies you building something. Games are wonderful because you're not building eternal things for the most part. There's a finish point and you go on to the next thing. At least we've been packing in a fair bit of gaming and some variety, which is nice. For me, the big two were Death Stranding 2 came out, played that like mad for 2 weeks. Awesome gameplay, miserable story, awful storytelling, really just abysmal. It's quite stunning, the writing was, but the gameplay was enough that I could just tune it out and build roads and monorail systems, and hunt monsters and deliver packages. Is awesome. And then I finally, after watching the final episode of Attack on Titan that I'd been putting off for ages because I was scared how awesome it was going to be, I got back into playing the second video game of it. And it's just unbelievable how awesome it feels slinging through things. One of those games that perfectly captures the original source material somehow. Games that are coming up that we're looking forward to playing, as I said at the start, doesn't need to be games that are new releases, but they're things that you're thinking of playing in the near future. I'll start. We'll go the other way around this time. Gem.
I don't know. I hadn't got that far. I definitely going to be looking into some VR stuff. I think that's going to be high on the Christmas list this year. And I think once I get to the end of Expedition 33, I'm going to be seeking out other similar games. There is definitely a need in me for playing games with story, games that you can lose yourself in. I'm sure that people can lose themselves in Dave the Diver and Coral Island and things like that, but they don't suck me in enough. My day-to-day job is very much seasonal. So as we come up to the autumn and into the winter months, that will get a lot quieter. So I will have more gaming time, and I hope I will be able to invest in some more of these kind of involved games, but which I don't know. There was quite a few that I like the look of on the Day of the Devs list. So I think we'll be looking out for whichever ones of those are coming out and exploring that. I'm a grasshopper, so who knows? I'll be playing about 20 different games between now and Christmas.
So for me, I was really struggling with future games, to be honest. But the one I have picked out is very much a result of my recent gaming habits. And that's the sequel to Ghost of Tsushima, Ghost of Yōtei, which I think is coming out in the autumn. But I might do what I've done with Ghost of Tsushima and leave it for maybe a year or so. I know Ghost of Tsushima came out like 5 years ago. It does help soften the blow in terms of spending on gaming, because that's going to be at least £70, if not more, for a special edition or one with extra DLC. But the premise of that one, obviously the main character is female this time for the sequel, motivated by a big revenge quest, hunt down and kill this set of people. So that is going to give me much more Assassin's Creed vibes. You get that from Ghost of Tsushima anyway, but this is very much like the Ezio part of Assassin's Creed, where he's deliberately going after X set of people because they murdered his family. And having that motivation behind a character, I think, just adds more to the story than hunting a mysterious cult because someone told you to. So that one I'm quite looking forward to. I feel like the characters in Tsushima are really rich and well written, so I'm very much looking forward to that. Continuing in the sequel, in terms of other games that I'm looking forward to playing in the future, aren't necessarily new. I mentioned the Switch earlier. I'm going to see if I can find the Professor Layton games and play them again on the Switch. I absolutely loved Professor Layton on Nintendo DS. And once it had moved to Nintendo 3DS, they produced, I think, one or two that you couldn't play on the original Nintendo DS. So we never played them. I'm going to try and seek out the ones that I never got to play and replay the classics like Curious Village. I love Professor Layton. It's so fun. Very much puzzle games, if you're not familiar. Essentially point and click, but with a very charming Japanese animation and storytelling. It's very lovely. In fact, there is a Professor Layton movie, if you wanted to dive deep into Professor Layton's backstory, which is very fun. And then the other game on the Switch that got gifted to us is Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, which, of course, everyone has raved about over the years, and so I must play because I'll absolutely love it, but never had access to a Switch until now, so definitely going to try that one as well. in the future.
It's lovely. There's always either a brand new game or an old game that is the right next game for us. For me, it's interesting. I think I might be on the cusp of a turn-based combat binge, but I have somehow turned to my wish list being Black Myth Wukong, the Kazan, the First Berserker, which is a similar kind of game, and Final Fantasy XVI. And mainly led by the feel of the combat in Clair Obscur, that I get to punch straight away. So I get that the feeling of parrying and dodging is incredibly satisfying, but I just want to immediately be able to get stuck in. Kazan and Final Fantasy XVI both have Ben Starr as the main character, and he's the sexiest voice in voice acting at the moment. I just want to hear his performance through them because it's marvelous. And then Black Myth being just an exciting, challenging thing. And then in terms of new stuff, there's the Outer Worlds 2 coming out soon. That should be exciting. Metal Gear Solid Snake Eater Delta, which is a remake of the third one in the original series, I think. And that just looks incredible as well. Metal Gear Solid 5. And one game that could be fabulous or it could be rubbish is, have any of you heard of Dead Take?
I've heard of it briefly. I've seen videos pop up on my Instagram of Ben Starr and Neil Newborn.
Yeah.
Who, of course, we know Neil from Baldur's Gate 3 playing Asterion. And also Abu Abubakar Salim, who's the voice of Bayek from Assassin's Creed Origins, tagged himself and shared those videos as well. So I suspect he has something to do with it too. But beyond that, I don't know anything about it.
Two massively awesome actors. But the only problem is, I think it's set in Boston, in America, and they have a famously awful accent to listen to.
Yeah.
And I'm worried that they're going to spoil their wonderful voices with an awful accent.
Oh, I don't think that's possible.
Yeah.
I was actually going to say that you just reminded me, before you mentioned Dead Take, you just reminded me that Dead Take is on my list because I think, Matt, you shared a clip of Ben and Neil having a conversation. They were doing a Dead Take your shots, where they had to answer questions and drink shots. They were supposed to drink a shot if they didn't answer the question, but they're both so happy to just talk about everything that they haven't, that they're just having the shots after they've answered the questions. And Neil keeps getting all the hardcore drink because he's like, oh, wait, this started with red wine and now I'm on the vodka. And Ben was like, but at the start of that conversation, Neil says that he thinks Ben's got this really, a really sexy voice, a really cool voice. And Ben's like, oh yeah, but people lust after your voice.
They want to, they want to drink your voice. They drink your voice with cream. That's what he said.
Listening to that and hearing, and it just, I mean, they're both cool. And so, I want to explore that, but it's scary to see if
exciting stuff on the horizons for gaming, hopefully. And if it's not on the horizon, then it's on the whatever the opposite of the horizon is. And we will find our next game and we will keep you up to date what it is. That being said, thank you very much for watching and listening. You know where to find us. You know where our Patreon and PayPal is. And we will see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.
We hope you enjoyed that episode of Gaming the System. If you want to support us, you can donate to us through our PayPal by sending it to wearegamingthesystem@gmail.com if you want to send us a one-off donation. If you want to donate to us monthly, you can subscribe to our Patreon at patreon.com/gamingthesystem. Until next time, bye-bye.